Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review Beavis and Butthead Reboot Season 2, Episode 6. So first off, I wanted to clear the air a little bit because last video somebody said I was a little rambly. I can tend to get a little bit rambly with these videos because number one, it's a lot of stuff to remember. When you do these episode reviews, if you don't have like a full script of notes in front of you, it's a lot of information to just remember and recall at the drop of a hat. And you want to remember everything so that it's a full in-depth review. And number two is that I have been sick recently, and I'm still sick, and so that kind of messes things up a little bit as well. Normally I would be a lot more sharp and succinct, and a little bit like I am today and yesterday, So I wanted to make that statement before I did this little. This will be a very short review because This episode was kind of... Let's talk about it. I mean, first off, they had Beavis and Butthead's Sad Boys. I really loved this story. I thought that it was a great concept where, as soon as they showed this guy in this school, this teenager, he looked almost exactly like a James Dean and Rebel Without a Cause type, and it just made me laugh because I remembered how cringe that movie was, and how that was that whole movie, was that you had this guy and he was just sad the whole movie, and so he gets the girl and everything, and it was just really funny to see that new character. And Beavis and Butthead see him hugging a girl and kind of hooking up with her because she sees that he's sad. And so they get the idea to model after that and pretend that they're sad too, and that they're depressed, and that they're suicidal. It's really, really funny. Because obviously it has some stuff underneath the surface that is kind of revealing at one point. And, you can kind of dissect it. You have to dissect it a little bit, though, because I gotta be honest, the one difference that I've noticed with Beavis and Butthead episodes, and let's just say like King of the Hill or South Park, is that a lot of these episodes are like 80% surface level, 20% like underneath the surface, symbols, hidden meanings, stuff that, if you really analyze it, it becomes clear. And so that's why I think a lot of these episodes can fall flat sometimes, is because they're so busy being these surface level comedies that they kind of they don't get to the cooler stuff, because once you keep on exploring with all these things underneath the surface, it actually adds a lot more possibilities to the story, if that makes any sense. So, Beavis and Butthead, they lash out in class, that doesn't work. Then they go to the school therapist, that doesn't work. And then they get sent to an asylum. And of course, at the asylum, they lash out at a therapy session, and finally they electroshock their genitals because they think that is having some sort of a sexual activity. And there were a couple of interesting little things underneath the surface level comedy. Number one, as we learned from last season, Beavis likes pain. He likes Butthead to inflict pain upon him, and they have kind of this relationship where they rely on each other for this kind of purpose. And so it's interesting that Beavis would associate, getting electroshock therapy to his junk to having sex, because it's like, what does that say about his relationship with Butthead? It's a little bit like kind of weird when you think about it. And number two, they actually brought up this point directly in the episode where the doctors said that they were observing them and they thought that, all this laughter, the that they constantly do, they were like, this is obviously covering up for some deep trauma and deep sadness, and, the laughter is just like a cover for everything. And I thought that was hilarious as well. But there was some truth to that, I think. I think that even though, and that's why I wish this episode would have explored that more. Again, it's very, very low on time, these episodes. King of the Hill had double the amount of time, so the episodes were just always better. Now, what was interesting, though, was that they did actually extend this story. They made this story 13 minutes, and they made the other story 7 minutes only. So they did kind of extend it, and it worked. It was a great episode, but I wished it would have gone further because, it would have been kind of interesting to explore, they're pretending that they're sad, but then, what if these doctors really figure out they are sad and they break through to them? That'd be kind of interesting, honestly. But overall, it was really funny. It was just kind of missing a little bit of, pizzazz, in my opinion. It was a little bit predictable, too, the way that, they just get sent to this asylum and that they're going to electroshock themselves at one point because they're cartoons and they're pretty near invincible. But overall, I give it a B+. I thought that it was a solid story. I'd watch it again. Another interesting thing is that instead of doing multiple video commentaries, they did just one commentary at the end of this story. And it was a segment of this show called Secret Relationships. And basically you had this girl and this guy. And the guy had these sweaty armpits that, my band teacher for middle school, he used to have that same thing. People used to talk about it and make fun of him all the time. He'd be conducting and he'd raise his arms and you just saw these pools of sweat in his shirts. And it was ugh, gross. But what can you do? And keep in mind, this was first period that I have band. I had band first period, I believe, all 3 years of middle school. It was only in high school when I started having band at quarter 4. So it is 7:45 in the morning, and he has these sweaty armpits, and he's already looking like he's just completely he's pooped out, and because he just ran a marathon and then jumped off a cliff and survived the fall. That's what he looked like every single day. And he was a shitty teacher too, because he flunked me because I'm not going to get into that. But it was this really stupid thing of why he flunked me, and it was totally it just stuck out like a sore thumb because I never got flunked in band again. And then he left, and he moved on because he was trash. So anyways, this secret relationship was all about this guy, and apparently he throws these sex toy parties where he sells sex toys and he does these funny demonstrations. It's very, very trashy. It's kind of ugh. I'd rather just look at a website and, that be that. What's really the point of him doing these parties? I have no idea. It seems pretty weird. It seems like something that would happen in the early 2000s, when the internet just began. Why in 2023 would there still be these types of, like, oh, you want to buy some toys? Like, I'm going to throw this party where I'm going to demonstrate them. At like really, really weird. It really bizarre. And she doesn't know, and but apparently his parents know, so he doesn't want her to meet his parents, and then his friends know. It's really, really strange. And it's really funny too, because Beavis and Butthead, they commentate over this video for 4 minutes. So you have this long extended story and then this long extended commentary. I kind of like that. I thought that that was a nice change of pace. All their jokes were accurate. I thought that it was hilarious overall. So yeah. The next story, it was something about it was something like Beavis asking for God. Like, I can't remember the title. But it's all about where Beavis gets rabies. And he prays to God to tell him what is going on with his body. He thinks he's experiencing puberty, which I guess he'll never experience because he's a cartoon. Or actually he does, because then he's in the future. Okay. Then he gets Mr. Anderson at the very end as like the last joke. Because he's having a really bad rabies experience, and apparently there's an outbreak in their town. This story was okay. I would give it a C+. The part at the end where he attacks Mr. Anderson is the funniest part, because to me, though, I would say that this was another wasted potential episode. I think that this could have been a really good Halloween special. Like, if you just made this the whole episode as one story, you could have made this whole, like, Halloween special story about him having rabies, because he looked like a scary monster. Like, he actually looked kind of creepy when he was foaming at the mouth and his eyes were yellow. And I thought this would be perfect for, like, a horror story, and maybe Butthead would have fun, like, shooting him and putting him down or something. And then they'd be like, wait a second, you don't have to do that. That'd be pretty funny. And then he does it anyway. Boom, 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 boom. And he just fucking, he just destroys Beavis. Like, see, that could have been a lot better. But as it is, it's just kind of an average story. It's very, very average, because they spent so much time with that first half of this episode that you can really notice how in the second half they have to rush through everything. They can't really do much. It almost feels like a short that you could have put on YouTube as a trailer or something. It doesn't even seem like a full story. However, it was okay. I give it a C+, as I said. The music video was terrible. They did this commentary of this music video. I don't know what it is, but basically it turns into Beavis talking about how he had sex with a car, and that becomes like the whole joke of them commentating over it. Overall, I would say that the music video in the second half was kind of weak. But again, both of these things in the second half suffered because the first half was so extended. And so I think maybe if they want to have an extended story, they should just devote a whole episode to it. Like, just go fully. Just dive into it fully and just let it be the whole episode. Do more stuff with that story. And then, let this story breathe. Let this rabies story be a part of, like, another episode with another story, and, just have, like, the normal length. Because I think that would have worked out a lot better. But overall, I guess I would give this episode a B-, and as a whole. The season is pretty good, I gotta say. Like, it's so much better than last season in terms of being consistent and being funny and being something that I look forward to watching. So I really appreciate that. So please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of both stories. and the strange relationship with the sex toy salesman. And I gotta say too, like, that is a strange relationship. Like, very, very strange. Because you gotta think, why would you be embarrassed? Like, if you do something like that, why would you be embarrassed? Like, it's not like he's doing something illegal. It's not like he's doing something really, really out there. Like, you know, well, let's just say German stuff. You know, he sells sex toys. Like, you know, boo-hoo. Like, he makes money, so, you know, who cares? And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest Beavis and Butthead reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.